Hello, Gemini, and welcome to Eye of the Centaur, your 2024 spring reading from Planet Waves. I'm Eric Francis Coppolino, your friendly neighborhood astrologer here, reporting to you on a warm, late winter evening in the Mid-Hudson Valley of New York State. It's about 5:21 p.m. Just think 1 week from now, exactly at this time, it'll be 6:21 p.m. And I have got an astrology reading for you. Now, as I was prepping, I was thinking it would be funny to do a kind of a, imagine an astrologer in the role of a pharmacist or doctor saying, Gemini, it's time to talk honestly about dualism. Dualism, not, well, I guess, Hamilton and the other guy, but you probably read a couple of spiritual books here and there, right? And you're thinking, will these people stop going on and on and on about dualism? Haven't we had enough about dualism? Why is that the explanation for everything? Oh, it must be dualism. Oh, it can't be, it's Earth. It must be dualism. It's kind of sliding up. It must be dualism. Well, it turns out there's a brain hemisphere thing. That's why I wear headbands a lot. It's to hold the hemispheres of my brain together, which is my secret to thinking with my whole brain. And I've been reading a lot about this in a book that it's going to take me like another month to get through it because I read that slowly. This is The Origins of Consciousness and the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind. So it's a book about the origins of consciousness, which it's always been a topic that's fascinated me, and it's central to Gemini. And it's about the two hemispheres of the brain. This one that's supposedly all mystical and likes pictures and reads tarot cards and communicates telepathically with kitty cats. And then there's this one that's all about logic, mathematics, you might say that has something to do with my investigative reporting portfolio, which is a very left brain activity. The thing with investigative reporting is it depends upon intuition a bit, not totally, but ultimately you have to follow your intuition. You can't write in the story, oh, my intuition said that's what's going on. You can say, my intuition said that's what's going on, and it said to talk to Father Damien, the campus priest, and it turns out he's got something important. Then you verify that, then you print that. You can leave out the whole story about Father Damien. There was really a Father Damien at SUNY New Paltz, and he really did help me on the PCB story. He knew something that the rest of the administration knew it wasn't saying. So there is a relationship between the intuitive and the cognitive, and that relationship is contained in the sign Gemini. And we as a society like to think that we're completely overheated on the cognitive side, but that's not true. We are totally overheated on the mystical tribal side, which is being jammed in every direction with all of these gadgets and stuff, tribal thinking and internet blotto stuff. And so we're completely overwhelmed on the intuitive to the point where there kind of is no such thing anymore. And that in turn is overwhelming the more individuated other side, the left hemisphere, which is supposed to be able to say things. I am Eric F. Coppolino. I live at, my zip code is, and so forth and so on. I am 451 feet above sea level and so forth. All of that is cognitive rational, but it gets blown away by all of this tribal, electrified bullshit mysticism that we are constantly confronted with. Why am I going on about this? Well, happy news for you. There's a very important planet coming to your sign. part of why it's so important is it hasn't been in your sign, unless we count a couple of months last year, for 11,400 years. What I read in my bicameral mind book, which is kind of a history of the world, kind of part zero, is that about 11,000 years ago, humans were first settling into communities that were large enough that you didn't know everybody in the community. That's very interesting because that very topic is covered by Gemini. Gemini is the sign of community. The third house is the house of community, the neighborhood, which is sufficiently small that you know some people and maybe even many people, but it's sufficiently large that you don't know everyone. And Gemini also covers this matter of the dualism of the two people inside of us, the left person and the right person, with the twins. Who are those twins? Now, there is not a Gemini alive who vaguely understands the concept of Gemini just a little, who hasn't thought, wait, who are those twins? I know who they are, etc., etc. What's your story of who the twins are? This would make a fantastic article. Let's consecrate that concept now. For you, Gemini, we've got a captive audience of Gemini. Who are the twins in you? What are their names? What are their personalities? What do they do? I live with a Gemini who was like carpenter. What was he? Carpenter who wore the utilikilt by day. He was like the groovy West Coast carpenter, and then like biker at night. There's always some options. So dualism runs as a theme throughout the zodiac. You can see a lot of the themes have dualism built right in. So for example, there's two waves in Aquarius. There's two fish in Pisces. So it doesn't look like fish. That Cancer looks like two fish, like a yin yang, but there's two fish in Pisces. The horns of the ram, there's two of them if you haven't ever counted them. The horns of the bull, there's two if you haven't ever counted them. And then you're like, well, yeah, so there's like dualism everywhere. But one of the jokes of the zodiac is that, it starts in Aries and there's like a ram. And now rams are cool. I mean, who doesn't love rams? And then you get to Taurus and there's a bull or a cow. Who doesn't love bulls or cows? But it's so far, we've gone 2 months into the zodiacal year and there's no people. And when their people first appear, there's two of them. There's twins. I consider that an astrological joke. That is a joke left to us. It's an observation. It's funny because it's true, left to us by the ancient Sumerian, Babylonian, Greek, Eudoxus of Knidos, or whoever, the Atlanteans, whoever you think, if you're a Barbara Hannah Clow fan. All we know about astrology, well, she says that, and so does Alice A. Bailey, that all we know about astrology comes from the Atlanteans. But whoever it was left us a little joke that when you first get to a person, there's two of them, and that would have something to do with you. So now in my 30-second reading, in 3 months less, I did, most of the writing on, well, whatever, the written portion of the book portion of Somewhere in Between, followed by the audio portion of Somewhere in Between, throw a couple of birthday readings in, and now 10 of these readings. I keep reading Sedna in Gemini over and over and over again. You might think it would get boring, but it's not. And it's especially not boring when I started to put together, from reading my old friend Julian Jaynes, who McLuhan couldn't stand this book, but it sheds a lot of light on McLuhan. He too was concerned about the hemispheres of the brain and the hemispheric relationship, and it elaborates on the concepts there. And one of the things that McLuhan said that I think is one of the most profound and useful things that McLuhan said, let me turn the lights down here a little bit. He said that all war, that's warm, that's warmer, all war is between the hemispheres of the brain. When